And we're back. Now, video quality may be a bit wonky because something happened to the thing I used to record, but hopefully I made it fine. As we climb up the path surrounded by trees and undergrowth, I watch Lily and Hanako walking ahead. The slight breeze all but whisks away the sound of Lily's cane gently tapping on the ground. I notice that Lily has since removed the band-aid now that the bleeding of her finger has stopped. A deep, lung-filling breath of the fresh country air makes me wish all the harder that the air around home had been quite so clean. It can't have even been half a mile, but I'm already working up a sweat. It isn't a pleasantly cool day, though, so I shouldn't be too hard on myself for it. Hey Lily, do you know, how well do you know this town anyway? Since I spent quite a few of my vacations here up until I entered Yamaku, I'd say I know it fairly well. We used to drive there once a weekend then. Oh, how I wish Akio was here to drive us now. I quickly take a moment to rub my hands a couple of times, staving off the oddly cold feeling in them. How do you like it up here? Oh, did you like it up here? I'd say it was nice during winter, but as you can work out, summers get a little too hot for comfort. It's nice and quiet, at least. My family's real house is quite far south. When they left Japan, my parents gave it to Akio, and only Akio lives in there now, after my moving to Yamaku. Well, quiet certainly describes this place. Though lonely is how I'd put it. Other than the prophesied small town, there isn't another soul for miles around. Coming from a home nestled deep within the big city, it's certainly different. I think that if I'd not come to Yamaku, staying out in the country like this would be too much of a change to get used to. After getting accustomed to the school's isolation, though, the idea of living in a place such as this has become almost inviting. To be somewhere away from the hustle and bustle of the metropolitan centers. So, Zhao, have you been to Hokkaido before? Nah, I used to live down south, and we never had any field trips or holidays up this far. Well, it's a new experience for you, then. Yeah, it is. I'm surprised at how nice it feels here. How about you, Hanako? She shakes her head from side to side. It's my first time, too. As we continue walking, I begin to feel pins and needles on my legs. It's a little disturbing, given there's no reason for it to be happening. Could you two hold on for a moment? I just need to... Is anything wrong? No, I just got pins and needles and... My vocal cords suddenly become taut as my chest tightens instantaneously. I quickly pull my upper arm over it, trying to quell the shot of pain spreading throughout my entire body. This is happening a lot in this route. Hizao. Lily's face is only mildly concerned, not knowing the sight which Hanako is recoiling from. I'm fine, just tired. I remove my arm from my chest and force myself to begin walking again. It's just a minor heart flutter, so it'll pass like the others. It only takes a couple of steps before my body violently revolts against me, my legs suddenly beginning to give way underneath me and all tension in my knees seeming to evaporate. Before I can react, they uselessly give way under my weight, leaving me only just enough time to brace myself and fall into all fours. Ah, damn. As I look up to her, I realize my face is still taut with pain, only adding that much more to her worrying. Hizao, Hanako, tell me what's going on. Hanako, tell me. Hanako quickly moves to my side as Lily almost panics, having little clue as to exactly how bad a condition I'm in. While she stands there petrified, I lower my face and take a deep breath. I come to a realization that makes me endlessly irritated with my stupid self. With all the excitement of my new surroundings, I've entirely neglected to take my medications last night or even this morning. Oh. Whoops. Taking another breath, the acute pain in my chest begins to die down as suddenly as it had arrived. Thank God, thank God, thank God, thank God, thank God. As it does, I become acutely aware of the sweat by now pouring off my face and the two scared girls around me. Hizao. I'm fine, Lily, I'm fine. I screw up my brow in an effort to lever myself up, Hanako's arms quickly moving to catch me if I fall as I stumble a bit before regaining my balance. I look to Lily and Hanako, worry written on both their faces. I feel awful, utterly awful. I think we should go back. Realizing the futility of protesting, I look away in frustration. Fine. I open my eyes groggily, completely bereft of energy. For a while I simply lie down lifelessly, staring at the ceiling as I review the events of the morning in an attempt to organize my thoughts. We went to walk to town, my heart nearly gave way. We came back, I took my pills, I slept. I can only remember each period of time as a snapshot, but the timeline is clear enough. Memory of the girls' faces as I struggled to stand is an unpleasant one, stinging my feelings harshly. If I look at the ceiling hard enough, I can imagine the tile edges and small dimples of the ceiling in the hospital. The fact alone is enough to make me sit up and try to pull myself together. I scratch the back of my disheveled hair, glancing around the room. Lily and Hanako are nowhere to be seen, and the television's turned off. The clock above it says it's pretty late in the afternoon, and noticeably reddened sky outside the windows confirms it further. I turn and pick myself off the futon, swaying slightly as I put my arms out for balance. I suppose I'd better go look for the girls to see if they're all right. As I look out the window, I faintly see something in the distance. Straining my eyes, I can just make out the shape of a person's figure. Her long blonde hair swaying in the faint breeze makes her almost seem to melt into the bright yellow of the wheat field. Without a second thought, I leave the room to follow that lone apparition. The brightness of the setting sun assaults my freshly awoken eyes, forcing me to avert them until they adjust. The long yellow strands of wheat brush against my legs as I wade through them, the densely grown field making it hard to advance. Regardless, my eyes stay fixed ahead, true to that solitary figure. Within minutes I reach her, meters behind her turned back. Lily? She simply nods. Where's Hanukkah? She's in bed. She went to sleep after I calmed her down. She says that matter-of-factly, and with as few words as possible, as if saying any more was strictly forbidden. There's something different about her. Her normally confident figure seems oddly fragile, her body offering no resistance to the breeze blowing her skirt. The strands of wheat sway from side to side while a deafening pause passes, the only sound being their rustling. As we stand in the field alone, I know what I have to ask. What's wrong, Lily? You're not acting like you usually do. Remember when I talked to my family, Hazal? Your family. I look downwards in thought, sifting through my scattered memories. The event seems to leap ready to hand when I search for it, rising to the surface as soon as it was recalled. After Hanako's birthday party. She gives a single simple nod. It was nice back then, you and I celebrating with Hanako, simply sharing presents, talking, having fun together. It was almost as if we were a family, one small, misshapen family. I thought that could go on forever, just the three of us, happily together. She takes a long breath, a slight shakiness to it just barely audible through the moving air. Even if my family was so far away, as long as we were together, that was all I needed. I don't want to lose you, Hazal. I didn't even realize how afraid I was of losing someone until today. I'm sorry, Lily. I know my body's weak, but even then I make the most stupid of mistakes. Don't apologize. Please don't apologize. Lily? She turns to face me, her pale cheeks stained with tears. One misguided step after another, she stumbles towards me, her arms held out in search of so much as a faint brush against me. My heart doesn't race nor pound as I step towards Lily, gently taking and steadying her in my arms as she quickly clutches to me, sobbing. With her face trembling against my shoulder, the next words from her mouth are the last I expected. I love you, Zao. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Don't go away, I beg of you. Never ever go away. I love you so, please. That's why she's been acting like this? That tender voice when I called her, her thoughtless concern at the slightest pain I might feel. After having been left in Japan without her family, and with only Akia, Hanako, and I around, she was afraid of losing yet another person who was close to her. She was genuinely worried for me. It's a strange feeling, a mix of surprise and sorrow, yet also the deepest gratitude I think I've ever felt. The only reaction I can muster among my conflicting emotions is a calm sigh. You idiot. Hazal? For a fleeting moment I feel her body become still. The only movement to be felt is the calm afternoon breeze. I said it before, didn't I? It's only natural to feel concerned about those around you. I'm still here, and I'll always be, because I want to see you more each day, to share in your happiness, to support you in your sadness. Most of all, I'll still be here because I want to see your smile, your true smile. A single gust of wind rustles the long strands of wheat as second silence passes. Smile when you want to smile, cry when you want to cry. I love you, Lily, so you don't have to hold back anymore. With that, her arms clutch my back as tightly as she can, her face buried beside mine. Her tears fall down my back and she cries unrestrainably as the last of her resistance melts away. Hazal, Hazal, Hazal. I close my eyes and bring my head down to her shoulder, holding her shaking frame tightly. It's okay, Lily, I'll never go away. I promise. We slowly walk back to the house, holding each other tightly as we take a seat inside. Lily leans her head onto my shoulder as I put my arm around her waist. Neither of us has any want to break the silence. With her eyes shut, it's hard to work out whether she's fallen asleep, not that I mind the warmth of her body leaning against me, the softness of her hand delicately held in mine. For a long, long time we sat leaning against one another, sharing our warmth and feelings as night eventually begins to settle in. Lily's gentle, soft voice ends the silence. Thank you, Azal. Thank you. For returning my feelings. Did you think I wouldn't? There was the possibility. I took a deep breath and thought that much was only my fault. And it's funny, actually, I was thinking of telling you about my own feelings sometime soon. I guess in that way you saved me the effort. She raised her head a little and gives a tiny amused giggle. I smile at how earnest it is, so girlish in its lightness. She collects herself soon afterwards, her hair resting against my shoulder. Feeling a little better? She gives a small nod. You are thoughtful, Hazao. That's why I like you. I'm sorry I'm like this. As much as I didn't want to make you concerned for me, I couldn't do anything to prevent it. Don't apologize for it. Please don't. Lily? Have I ever apologized for my blindness even once? You can't help the way you were born, Hazao. There's no point in apologizing for who you are. She says this with surprising conviction. In the end, it was perhaps this mentality which spurred her to befriend me in such a short time, in addition to her motherly instincts. She did seem to become trusting very quickly, but I'd never questioned why. Now it seems obvious that she did so to help me as I went through one of the lowest points of my life. I moved to respond, but cut myself off as I hear her fingers run gently through my hair. I feel their soft and delicate touch moving downwards to trace the contours of my face, her palm finally settling on my cheek. You are a beautiful person, Hazao. Please don't ever apologize for that. For a moment I'm utterly speechless. I slowly bend my head down, placing a tender kiss on her light, voluminous hair. We're a couple of red old fools, aren't we? We are. After a long calm, she speaks again. Hazao? Yes? I wouldn't mind if you... I feel her hand tensing under mine, trembling slightly. My mouth opens, but try as I might, I can't formulate a response to her proposition. Lily? Before I can say another word, she slips her hand from under mine and tenderly holds the side of my face once more. Please. I give a peaceful smile, holding her hand against my cheeks as I nod a single time. Okay. As I look into her eyes, she leans towards me. Her delicate lips touch mine as she guides herself with her hand. She breaks off not a second later, finally smiling. I love you, Hazao. We kiss again, this time with both of us meeting the other. While the previous kiss was one of love, this is one of lust, our tongues meeting and our breathing heavy. After precious seconds we part, both our faces well and truly flushed. Okay. I hear this music. I know this music. I remember this music from Rin's scenes. Both of us bring our fingers to our lips in unison, recalling that fleeting feeling, rapidly becoming buried both by our urges and bashfulness. Lily is the first to shift uncomfortably though. What is it? Should we get more comfortable? Okay. Now that she mentions it, this futon would be a bit too narrow to do much on. Considering the thoughts running through both of our minds, it's no small wonder one of us has any measure of foresight left. I take her hands and guide her sideways as I move, the brief and awkward dance, and ending with both of us tentatively sitting on the floor opposite each other. As I reach forward to pull her top up, she stops after she moves her hands to do the same. You're shaking. I pause for a moment and look at my hands. Sure enough, they're quivering slightly. Whether it's from my nervousness or excitement, I'm not sure. No, I guess I am. So you're as nervous as I am, then. I withdraw my hands and sigh, steadying myself. We have plenty of time, so there's no need to rush this. I'm sorry, it's my first time, so I'm a bit... She giggles shakily, all but confirming what I reasonably deduced by now. It's the same for me. I'm happy we could share this together. I match her smile twofold, leaning forward and taking her body in my arms as she reaches to hug me back. I love you, Lily. You already said that. Can't help grinning. Even in such a situation, she still has her wits about her. Breaking our embrace, we decide to take off our own clothing. While it's easier this way, I don't doubt it's just an attempt to distract ourselves from our nerves. With slightly stiff hands, we begin to slide the first button out from my shirt. Once we remove the last of our clothes, which end up haphazardly piled behind us, my breath is taken by the sight in front of me. Okay, that went on for quite a while. I was thinking maybe it wasn't gonna... what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't gonna do the cuttlefish thing. After being woken by a sound, I open my eyes with a measure of reluctance. Turning my head to the left, I find the rain outside is sweeps against the windows loudly. Spray after wind-blown spray lashes against the glass as if trying its hardest to make up for the summer's previous heat. I sit up in the futon, holding the back of my neck to try and subdue the pain from my awkward sleeping position. By all accounts, I should be lamenting the turn in the weather, given that this is our last day here. The events of yesterday refuse to stop flooding in my mind, though. The feeling of holding Lily's crying body in my arms, the rush of lust and hormones that flowed through us as we spent the night together, it seems almost futile to try and rationalize everything that happened. In an attempt to distract myself, I groan and leave over to retrieve my bag without standing. Pulling out one bottle after another, I take the daily regimen's worth of pills from their containers and swallow them without further ado. It took a surprisingly short amount of time to get used to swallowing pills without water. That said, I suppose the same thing goes for getting used to living in a school for disabled students. Remembering Yomaku, I become all the more grateful for having the chance to get away, even if it's just for the shortest of times. I appreciate the chance to spend time alone with Lily and Hanako away from the bustle of school life, even considering the latest complications. Never thought I'd say it, but the idea of living away from the city in a nice tranquil area is inviting one. It's a thought that barely a year ago would have seemed simply ludicrous. A flash of pink, no doubt Hanako's gown, peeks around from the corner. Realizing I must look a sight since I only just woke up, I slap the remaining pills into my mouth and run a hand through my hair. Good morning, Hizao. I reply to her, completely forgetting I'm in the middle of swallowing a particularly large pill. Coughing and sputtering, I violently gag on it. Hizao. After sputtering loudly and tapping my chest a couple of times to force it down, I managed to recover. I'm fine. Sorry, I forgot I was swallowing. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I hold my hand up, gesturing for Hanako to stop. I gagged, it's my fault. Morning, Hanako. She pauses a moment before bowing in reply. Walking, no, staggering in behind Hanako is the familiar figure of Lily, also dressed in her pajamas. With her eyes full of sleep and hair bedraggled, she's a sight to behold. Hi, Lily. Good morning, Hizao. For a while, a silence hangs in the air as neither of us knows what to do. Given what happened last night, we both have more than enough reason to be finding the situation awkward. Just how are we meant to react to meeting each other after something like that? The best course of action would probably be to talk to Lily alone to set things in order. I'll start making breakfast. Lily evidently catches on to my train of thought. I'll help. Hanako, could you set the table? She nods, her head disappearing into a cupboard as she quickly goes about her assigned task. I rub a little more sleep out of my eyes as I wander over to the fridge and take out some milk, and Lily grabs various brightly colored boxes from some of the lower cupboards to my side. While we make the rather bland-looking meal, I whisper somewhat more quietly than usual, knowing Lily's hearing she won't have any trouble catching what I say. Are you okay, Lily, after last night? She gives a delicate nod, her expression weak. Though her tiredness surely plays a part, she seems genuinely unsure about what's happened between us and how to move ahead. I can't say I blame her, considering my feelings are the same. I'm sorry, Hizao, I wasn't thinking straight yesterday. I never stopped to consider you or Hanako, and I even went as far as she's winding herself up, with her hands and voice both tightening. I give her a gentle bump to try and lighten up the situation. You don't have to apologize. I said I liked you as well, after all. But As her composure begins to falter, it becomes obvious there's no alternative. Turning to Lily, I gently embrace her tall frame. She offers no resistance at all, thankfully pulling back just from the edge of her emotions. Despite our reassuring embrace lasting only a matter of seconds, I notice Hanako wordlessly watching. The plate in her hand hovers inches above the table, her action halted midway by the sight. The clatter of utensils against the plates is the only sound to be heard as we silently eat, whereas before only two of us may have been unsure of ourselves, the entire situation has changed. After weeks of blissful friendship, whiling away the days with shared meals and chatter with little meaning, the relationship of Lily and I, no, that of all of us, has irreversibly changed. I can't take this. Lily? She solemnly nods, gently laying her spoon onto the plate in front of her. Neither of us knows exactly how we regard each other, let alone how Hanako would view us. This might be abrupt, but I've confessed to Hizao, not Hanako. Ooh. For a moment, Hanako looks almost confused, precisely the reaction I'd thought she would have. She eventually nods, her spoon still in her mouth as she does so. Did you accept? I did. She gives a smile so large and so earnest I find myself blushing. I think it's the brightest I've seen her expression look. Then I'm happy. I'm really, really happy. I'm sorry for not telling you anything about it before. Things have been... Hanako shakes her head from side to side emphatically. apparently forgetting in her rush that Lily couldn't possibly notice. She begins fiddling with her fingers, looking a little more nervous than she did before. To be honest, I began to think you might like each other a while ago. At first I didn't really know what to think about it, but I decided in the end that if my friends are happy, then I'm happy. I was really glad to have another friend when we met at his house, so you finding love through him is even better, right? A feeling of relief at her acceptance of our relationship falls over me like a wave. The same happens to Lily, judging by her expression. Thank you, Hanako. I really appreciate you being so understanding. Lily's voice still sounds slightly apologetic, or at least unsure. This doesn't escape Hanako, who appears lost in thought for a few moments before turning to me. Izao, do you mind if me and Lily go outside for a bit? No, feel free. Hanako? Hanako gets up from her seat, taking Lily's hand and almost dragging her from the table in her excitement. Considering Lily's typically slow and steady pace, Hanako's haste makes her footing awkward as she almost loses her balance a couple of times. It's a pretty amusing sight, leaving me wordless as I watch him disappear out the door. It's only now that I realize the rain stopped, being replaced by a sky seemingly all the more vivid and bright to make up for the morning's drab gray expanse. For Hanako, this must be a pretty big revelation. Lily and I are really the only people she associates with, almost as if we were parents in her own stead. I suppose that might well be the best way to describe her, the relationship we share. A father, mother, and daughter, all playing around in our little make-believe family as if it could last forever. It might be a strange dynamic, and one that certainly can't last for long, but maybe, just for this one small moment, it's okay. As I stand from the table and go to join Lily and Hanako in the fields outside, I nod to myself in affirmation. This one small moment of happiness, no matter how brief, will last with me, with all of us forever. Submerged deep in the hot water, I let a drawn-out sigh escape my lips, the feeling of seemingly every muscle in my body relaxing is euphoric. I've no idea how long it's been since I had a genuine hot bath, but right now I can hardly be bothered trying to remember. Maybe I'm giving the simple fact that for once I get to have a real bath more credit than it's due. The chance to just calm down, allow myself to unwind, and have some time to myself is a welcome one. Hanako, Lily, and I wandered about outside, exploring the extent of the surprisingly large tract of land surrounding the house. Then we spent the majority of the afternoon resting, watching television, reading, and playing cards. It may not have been the most exciting finale to the trip, but such tranquil peacefulness is something to savor. Even after we return to the school tomorrow, I think I'll remember this little house in Hokkaido for a long time. It's a pity we only have a couple more hours to spend here before going to get the train back. All I can do is yawn contentedly while I watch the steam slowly rising from the clear water's placid surface, my eyes eventually locking onto the ceiling. Our exams are imminent. I've barely studied at all for them. On top of that, I don't even know what I'll do after graduation. Passing exams is all well and good, but to what end? Also now, of all times, I'm getting into a relationship. The hell am I doing? I guess I shouldn't think like that. What's done is done, and maybe this could be viewed as just another aspect of my new life that I'm working on. I enjoy being with Lily, and there's more to life than just school and career, after all. As I busily attempt to rationalize all that's happened, I hear a series of raps on the door. I pick myself up and sit upright, trying to figure out the source. 3, no more and no less. Light yet assertive in their tapping, and timed regularly enough to tune a metronome. I'd be extremely surprised if it wasn't Lily. May I come in? Yep, it's Lily. I'm still in the bath. I'll be out in a sec. I know. The voice coming from the other side of the door freezes me. After a second's thought, I rest on the side of the bath and let my arms dangle over the side. Despite trying my best to play it off, I can't help letting my mind wander. Sure, come in. With that, she opens the door, slowly walking into the room and closing it behind her. She looks oddly calm, countering my racing heart. Hey Lily. You mind if I take a bath with you? I don't mind, go ahead. With a small nod, she begins to lift her sweater off her shoulders, baring her chest little by little. I could do that for you if you'd like. Refused. Why? Her face shows she's still not overly comfortable with letting me attend to her. Can't say I blame her. She continues undressing, her shirt and skirt falling to the floor and leaving her in her white lace bra and panties. Eventually she stands bare in the center of the room. Again? Oh. Okay then, drink break. Oh, it's a white... Oh, okay, that looked really weird. Okay then. That was like just 2 scenes like that in like 10 minutes. After a chaotic dash to the station and finding our seats in the otherwise deserted carriage, we promptly crashed. Looking at the time, close to midnight, it's a little surprised that few take this particular train. Hanako is fast asleep on Lily's shoulder, and I can only barely muster the energy to stay awake. The excitement we had a while ago probably didn't help. I'd probably be pretty depressed after going back to school if my brain was actually working. As it is, though, the sight of the nighttime scenery scrolling by is surprisingly beautiful. My loud yawn is nearly wholly drowned out by the clacking of the train tracks and the old carriages rattling. So tired. And whose fault is that, Hisao? She really does toe the line between insulting and amusing sometimes, though I manage to wring out a weary smile. I look back out the window, my reflection just visible on the clear pane. Truth be told, she's perfectly correct. If it weren't for that little interlude a few hours ago, both of us would have had a lot more energy. On top of that, we both had to take another bath, very nearly making us late for the train's departure. Yeah, it was mine. Still, getting into a bath with a guy is a dangerous thing to do. Evidently. Oh, sorry, I guess I kind of took advantage of the situation back there. Well, I didn't exactly hate it. As she trails off, I look back to her, my eyes narrow as I see her slightly reddened cheeks and small grin, her mind obviously elsewhere. Say it. I knew the possibility of it happening was there. I knew it, you're just as dirty-minded as I am. She quickly coughs into her free hand, making her disapproval crystal clear. That's a rather crude way of putting it. Oh, and you would suggest? I merely have a healthy adolescent sex drive. So in other words, dirty-minded. Almost seeming to sense the moment, Hanako mumbles quietly as she furrows her brow in Lily's lap. Lily's look of disapproval melts away as she gently smiles and strokes her hand on Hanako's long dark hair. All I can do is watch and smile. If someone were to ask me when I fell in love with her, I wouldn't be able to answer. The best I'd be able to come up with, it just happened at some point, but I didn't realize it. If someone were to ask me why I love her, though, then I could answer much more easily. You really love Hanako, don't you? She gives a deep nod, smiling warmly. It's a pity we have to return to school. She seemed to relax so much while we were away. I didn't even read what those options were. Please don't be terrible. Let's talk about Hanako. I wouldn't worry. Hanako's been gaining confidence thanks to you, at least for as long as I've known you two. She gives a self-deprecating sigh. I think I merely provided her with company and support. Since she came to know you, she's opened up much more, even to me. I get the feeling she's understating her influence on Hanako, especially given that before the two came to know each other, Hanako had no friends to speak of. The friends I'd had in my previous school fulfilled what I'd expected of them, for the most part simply being there for idle chatter, but in Hanako and Lily there really seems to be more to their relationship. Part of me envies it, but another can't ignore the fact that school year will eventually end. After graduation, I really have no idea what Hanako will do. This trip has shown me just how much we've all come to depend on one another. Indeed, we're all going to have to make decisions. Maybe that's the reason why, despite our return to school also heralding a return to the normalcy of everyday life, I can't help feeling a little restless. On the bright side, it won't take long for the summer holidays to arrive after our exams are finished. We could come back here during the summer holidays if you want. For a moment she thinks on the notion, her face becoming somewhat distant. I can only guess she's reflecting on all that's happened here. That would be good, I think. I nod approvingly, smiling at her. Not that she can tell. Summer, together with Lily, the idea seems like the perfect way to spend our holiday. Act 4? I did it! I made it to Act 4. I didn't get the bad end. I think if it's like Rin's route, then I didn't get the bad end, because the bad end was in Chapter 3 of Rin's Out. I have a feeling... Well, what was that one option? Where was it? This one here where I, address or wave off. I have a feeling if I had chosen to wave off, then it would have ended in a bad end, because that was really mean. I went back to look at it after recording, and it was, really mean. After the excitement of our trip to Hokkaido, it seems strange to be right back at the usual daily routine so soon. Indeed, it feels like a normal day, the same as any other. Well, that's what I'd like to think, anyway. To tell the truth, the atmosphere of the entire class, no, the entire school has changed. While an undercurrent of subdued trepidation had previously pervaded the class, now that the exams are in sight, it's boiled over into frantic studying, rarely seen otherwise. One day until the exams start, it's horrific, really, that instead of studying, we went and wasted our trip up north. We were such model students, too. Glancing around the class, even the bubbly, ever-energetic Misha seems oddly deflated. She sits at her desk, nervously chewing up pen while Muto lectures from the front of the class. Wait, on closer inspection, I do believe she's eating it. Tearing my eyes from the sorry spectacle, I turn my attention elsewhere. Hanako sits frantically scribbling in her notebook, her face mere inches away from the page, seemingly trying to record every word that leaves Muto's mouth. Shizune is, well, Shizune, cool as a cucumber, she sits diligently taking notes with her attention wholly focused on the front of the class. Truth be told, it's what I should be doing as well, if not for the fact that I feel like I had a pretty good handle on what's being covered already. Wonder how Lily's doing. While she does have a good head on her, she has plenty on her plate, unlike me. Her class representative duties, taking care of Hanako, her other social contacts, her extra English studies. That girl really does take on a lot. The lunchtime bell rings a sigh of relief from the entire class, Muto being no exception. I get the feeling he much prefers the more laid-back atmosphere of his normal classes to the frantic pace of exam preparation we're subjected to right now. Ichan, help me. I lower my eyelids to half-mast, making clear my intention of doing quite the opposite. Help me, help me, help me, ask Shizune. Not going well. Shi-chan's going to be fine, but I think I might die. Am I going to die, He-chan? Will you let me die from all this work? How maudlin, given she's neither the brightest student in the class nor the most diligent. It isn't a great surprise that she's finding it hard to cope with her workload. Sorry, Misha, but I got my own work to do. I thought you and Shizune would be studying together over the long weekend anyway. Yeah. Studying's too boring to waste on a holiday. He-chan's shopping together was much more fun, wasn't it, Shi-chan? It's only now that I realize Shizune's been looking over to us and that Misha's arms have been moving likely all this time. I must be really zoned out to not have noticed. What is it with girls and shopping anyway? Even Lily and Hanako have dragged me out with them a couple of times. But you went anyway? It's so rare to see a guy that likes going shopping. Well, my role would probably be best described as a pack mule. I can't say I share your enthusiasm with the experience. Back to the exams. You studied after you got back from the days off, didn't you, Shizune? Of course, He-chan. It's only sensible to study in the days before. Misha makes a sound vaguely similar to a dying cow as she realizes her folly and unceremoniously flops onto her desk, betrayed even by her best friend. Judging from Shizune's quite frustrated look at Misha, she probably told her to study as she did. Don't worry, you can still gain some marks if you start studying now. Maybe. Misha does not seem overly amused. It seems the bubbly balloon of everlasting cheerfulness has been cruelly popped. Shizune's signing goes unnoticed by the moping Misha, earning her a quick poke in the shoulder. It takes barely a moment for Misha to get back into form. So what did you do over the weekend, He-chan? I just took a trip up north with Lily and Hanako. It was pretty nice. I see both of them narrowing their eyes at me, their minds surely in the gutter. The fact that their suspicions are founded makes the situation all more awkward. We just studied and went sightseeing. There's nothing more to it. After such a flagrant lie, I decide that it may not have been the best step considering Shizune's connections and her total lack of restraint when it comes to questioning someone she suspects of telling untruths. I really have no idea of how she's going to take it, but she'll find out eventually anyway. It isn't as if it's really her business who might date in any case. And yes, Lily and I are going out now. While Misha receives the news with an enthusiastic smile, Shizune gives a look of mild surprise, somewhat masked by her cool demeanor. Whoever you date is your business. I hope you two go along well. We'll go well together. Misha gives a look that says this is the most quarter I could possibly receive on the matter. It's all I wanted, really. After she says this, though, Shizune begins to sign something else and stops herself and shakes her head at Misha to prevent her from translating. Normally, I'd think this is strange enough, but the awkwardly casual wave Shizune gives before walking out with Misha in tow adds to my confusion. Shizune is hardly the kind of person to pull a punch or communicate without forethought. Whoops. I shrugged my shoulders at the duo's odd behavior and looked towards Hanako's desk, but see that her chair's empty. She was definitely here before, so I guess she just didn't feel like waiting. I'll go grab some food alone then. Walking down the hallway to the unused room that's become a second home to 3 students in particular, I mournfully look down at the plastic-wrapped salad roll and juice box in my hand. I'm going to take another drink. Alrighty. The cafeteria's food really is unappetizing. Maybe I'll consider this my penance for my recent indiscretions. Opening the door, I notice one less quiet figure than I expected. It's strange, despite having known Lily for months, I can't help thinking back to the very first time I opened this door and saw her silently sitting in the sunlight. Just as she did then, she slowly opens her eyes, unmoving as they are, and calmly addresses me. Good morning, Hazel. It's afternoon, I think. Has Hanako been around? She skidded out of class without me noticing. Lily cradles her cheek thoughtfully as I take a seat, my bag taking its place against the closest leg of the table and my unsatisfying meal neatly set out in front of me. She did appear for a time. She said she had to study for the upcoming exams and left for the library. We find ourselves not entirely believing her words. Well, at least her intentions are in the right place. She is sweet, but she didn't go this far to let us have our space. I might talk to her about it sometime. Probably for the best. For a while we quietly eat our meals, Lily elegantly nibbling on her sandwiches and sipping her tea as I eat what tastes like a garden sandwich and dry dough. The atmosphere feels slightly strained, neither of us knowing quite what to say to each other now that our small talk is dried up. Eventually we both finish our food, with no conversation forthcoming for quite some time. Eventually, though, Lily's soft voice breaks the silence. A lot happened back there, didn't it? Again, silence with both our minds on the same topic, though. I think I have my feelings on that sorted out. I know everything happened in kind of a hurry, but I don't regret anything that happened in Hokkaido. Not a thing. Is that? Slightly tense, I take her hands in mine. I have to feel her, I have to settle my own nerves. I stand by my words back there, Lily. I love you and I won't leave you. I only wish for you to think the same. She silently reflects for a long time, which feels like an eternity. Her reverie comes to an end as she takes one hand from mine, placing it over them as she leans her body forwards and stands out of her chair. After a moment's hesitation, her face slightly pensive, her lips meet mine for a brief moment. My mind feels as if it briefly stopped at that moment, barely registering Lily sitting back in her chair and smiling back at me with ever so slightly reddened cheeks. Hearing that makes me very happy, Azal. I would be glad to stay with you. Maybe it would be good to slow things down a bit compared to before. We still have school after all, and our exams. She gives a mischievous giggle, which proves to be contagious. That might be a good idea indeed. Do you think you'll fare well in your exams? It's only one day until they arrive, as you say. I probably should have studied more, but I think I got good enough to manage. That said, I had to bat off Misha and Shizune. Is your class worried about the exams as mine? She lets out an exasperated sigh, all but confirming it. I'm thankful for the atmosphere becoming a bit lighter. I think so. I've already been asked to help by two of my classmates, and there'll be no doubt be more. And think of it as your first training in being a teacher, maybe. Oh, that's probably a good way to think of it. On that note, how are you faring in your English studies? Remember, it was far from your strongest subject, and the few sentences you memorized to speak to my mother aren't likely to help. Damn right on the mark. You got me. If you don't mind, would you be able to possibly help in that regard, please? It would be my pleasure to help you, Hazel, but in exchange... She lowers her eyebrows at me, her coquettish nature tentatively coming to the fore. No problem at all. You'll better be ready with some help in your studies, though. You'd probably be better off with some help in your studies, though. I feel like I misread that. She beams a smile at me, one of girlish victory that nearly makes me blush. I get the feeling she's aware of how to use her face to twist my judgment, so I should probably be more on guard. Here and now, though, a study group seems like an expedient way for both of us to shore up on our more lacking skills. The school bell rings out, reminding us that time isn't going to stand still. Lunchtime's over already. It sure is easy to lose track of time here. As I'm so far from the other clubs and activities, not much sound can reach us. That's probably most of the reason why. A place far from all the others, alone with just one person whom she loves. As Lily stands and collects her bag and cane, my thoughts are cast back to the time we spent in Hokkaido. Before I go, Akila and I are having a homecoming party in my room tomorrow. Will you be able to come? And back again. My schedule is free, so I should be able to make enough room in my study time to make it. Good to hear, Hazel. For what it's worth, I'm glad you're back from Scotland. Once exams are over, we should have more time to ourselves. Holidays start soon after too. We could start the holidays with Tanabata then, just as we promised at the school festival. She brings her hand to her cheek and laughs slightly nervously, recalling the event as I silently thank myself for managing to remember. Seems odd to see her react in such a way, though it's not like I never saw her embarrassed before. I'd better be going. Farewell, Hazel. Bye. Whether it's just out of habit or a stubborn desire for one small fragment of normality, I hold my hand up in farewell just as I always do. At least I'm consciously aware that I'm doing it now. I think I'm beginning to see a bigger picture than I ever have before, not only with Lily, but also my life ahead. The chains of my past are finally breaking. Do-do-do. Yep. Alright, well, that's going to be all for this time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.